Listen to Mark Campbell, President and CEO of AAN Resources, discuss the news release dated January 28, 2019. AAN Resources Inc. announces the extension of its Abu Marawat concession exploration license.
There seems to be a bit of confusion about this press release, and I'm not exactly sure why, but it's very good news. I mean, as you know, things are changing here. And this is basically a standstill. It allows us time and to figure out what the new terms are, how we come under them. We have to build a financial model. We don't know what the terms are going to look like going forward. So it allows us to work and keep going while all of this is being sorted out.
Yes.
So, if we went for a mining license now and everything changes, we'd have to go back and, unravel all that. And that's not in anybody's interest.
Yes.
So the best thing to do is, what we've done is that they've just said, okay, look, we'll give you a year. If it goes longer than that, we'll give you another year.
Yep.
So, it's good for us and allows us to keep working. Without any disruption.
Yeah. And to ask about some of the prior news releases too, there was one in May tracing back, and it mentioned an extension associated with the report for commerciality.
Yeah, no, you this is the whole thing. What we do know is that PSA, the oil and gas model is going away. This 50-50 joint venture with EMRA goes away, okay? This whole thing about providing a study and this concept of commerciality. Commerciality, is an oil and gas term. I mean, it really is not relevant to any of this. And so what you got was, and it's automatic, is that you submit your report in support of a commercial discovery, and then you have 6 months to complete that report, and then they move to award you a mining license. But if the terms are going to change, then the financial model associated with that study changes, because obviously the terms are going to be different. So we just don't know what those are. And until such time as we know what those are, we can't do anything with that. So, that's somewhat on hold, and we'll continue to do all the exploration work at Rod Ruin and some of our other targets. We'll see, what transpires. They're talking about making an announcement at the end of February. They're talking about, I assume that the executive regulations, because there's two parts to this. There are the amendments, and then there's what are called the executive regulations. And the executive regulations are basically the nuts and bolts of this. So what will ground rent be? And, what are the terms specifically? And things like customs exemption and all these sorts of things. So until we know definitively what is these new terms and the actual economic portions of them. So what is the royalty? What is rent? We know effectively what corporate tax rate is, but that's about it. So you can't do this in a vacuum. So the government's being very supportive. They said, look, we got that. We understand. And, we'll give you a year extension and let's see where it goes. I don't think that it's going to take a year to get all this done. But if it does drag out, then sure, we'll get another extension.
And it's an extension for the entire land package at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Great.
So, it's not, all these things you have to relinquish a bit of ground, but we got 732 square kilometers. We could, we'll cut off some bits that we don't want and so what?
It
We know
it's
the main areas that we're interested in.
well, and certainly, and the continued field work um, makes that all the more clear.
Yeah. So,
And
I mean,
one,
we I mean, this is actually very good news. Nobody's forcing us down a path that we would not want to go.
yeah,
They're saying, look, we understand, and you want to come under the new regulations, which we believe are going to be a lot better. And so just keep working,
yeah.
and while we figure all this out, it's very fair.
Well, and it seems like this might be the first instance of some real um, developments or something under this new policy framework.
Sure. I mean, it demonstrates, several things. I mean, it demonstrates that they're serious about wanting to develop this space. And, why you don't want to get rid of the people that are already here and
Yeah,
are already doing work and are actually much further ahead than anybody that would arrive subsequently. And you certainly want it made clear that, you are supporting the people that are here. And at the same time, it also demonstrates that they know the change is coming. I mean, if they know they're going to make changes,
yeah,
they're determined to do so. They've publicly said that. Wood Mackenzie will be back. So I think that this is actually very positive news, because if they weren't going to do anything differently,
yes,
there'd be no reason for them to get, theoretically an extension, or they'd give us a mining license. But
yep.
again, if the terms and everything else is going to change, I mean, you don't want to come under an old law. The law changes, and then you have to go back and just unravel all that. So you come under the new law again.
You have to
That's
be
just,
willing
yeah.
to embrace a certain amount of dynamic planning or a fluid situation, however you want to describe it.
Well, sure, absolutely. But I mean, this is something, we've talked about for 25 years. This is not a new topic. And, we're finally seeing the day when, it's going, things are going to change. I mean, I've met with the Minister of Petroleum. I feel very comfortable. They've installed a new chairman in EMRA who is absolutely excellent and is very receptive. And he's met with us. He's met with our committee at the American Chamber of Commerce. He's you could call the guy up. It's a breath of fresh air, and that is really a huge step forward. So it's hard, I know, from the outside to look in and see and think, what's going on. But I mean, the reality is that we're seeing real, pardon the pun, but tectonic shift here in thinking. It's great. I mean, yes, there at the moment there's a bit of it's not confusion, but I mean there is this slight feeling of upheaval. But that's just because they're discussing and talking and planning, and
Indeed.
there are various constituent parts to this,
Yep.
and it's not something that, you just, decide on Tuesday and, implement it on Wednesday. So, for Egypt, we have gotten here in less than a year.
Yep.
For Egypt, that is light speed. And so there's no doubt that they're very, very serious about all of this. And even in the oil and gas business, you see that things are changing. I mean, terms are going to be different in this new Red Sea bid round, for example, Deepwater bid round. So, they are trying to make some, real changes. And the Minister of Petroleum is very dynamic, and as I say, I mean, they've put in a very good man as the head of EMRA, who is, you know, uh, which is obviously crucially important. And
Well,
they all understand the need for change, and they all understand that there has to be substantial changes. And they're just saying, look, we want you to stay, we want you to keep working. We know that at the moment, it's unclear, but it will get clarified, it will get changed, and so just keep doing what you're doing. We're not going to take your concession away from you. Just get on with it.
and maybe one question there as a counterfactual, if you hadn't been awarded this extension here,
Oh, we
how
would have
would
gone
things,
for the mining license. We would have
right?
gone for the mining license. But don't forget is that going back to October, when they started saying that this was all going to change, when they were making public announcements, I mean, at that time, we kept saying, look, we're not, and we were waiting to see if they did make an announcement in January, and they said, and now we understand it'll probably be the end of February, which is fine. I'd rather them take their time and get it right than rush through it.
Yes.
And so we said, look, this is the issue. We went and talked to them. They said, yeah, we understand. Okay, we'll give you a year extension.
Wonderful.
It
Yeah.
was pretty
Very
simple.
simple. Yeah.
It wasn't very complex, which was great. So so that's what we'll do. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. I've got